Many students find neurology intimidating. This could be because of the way they're taught, or because they're given too much information to focus on at the same time, or because it's meant to look a lot more complex than it really is. In this video, I want to break down the basics of a neurological examination. I'm not going to be showing you how to do the neurological examination, but I'm going to be explaining why we do the things we do in a neurological examination, so that when you're faced with a patient, you understand why you're actually doing the things and the steps and in the order that you're taught to do. I hope that you'll find this to be very useful, and I hope that you'll stick with me until the very end of this session. I'm going to start by showing you the basic structure of the neurological system, and I've made it as simple as possible for you to understand. So I've used this simple drawing to show you the different parts that I'm going to be talking about. The first is the brain and the spinal cord, and attached to the spinal cord are nerve roots. Going further beyond the nerve roots, a nerve root will innervate an organ or a limb. And as an example, I've put this muscle showing you that this nerve root goes all the way into this muscle. Now you'll notice that this is very, very simplistic, but for purposes of this session, I'm trying to keep it very, very simple so that you follow where we're coming from. I'm going to describe the concept of localizing or localization of lesions. And this is a word that neurologists like to use a lot, but it has a very, very simple definition behind it. So the simplest way to explain localizing is figuring out where the problem is in the neurological system. And it's easy to do that because the structure of the entire neurological system correlates with specific functions. So if you know what function a specific place plays, if you see that that function is not happening, you know exactly where to look or where to suspect that the problem is coming from. So I go back to the same diagram that I showed you in the beginning. So if you just go by this simple illustration, there's only a few places where your problem could be. So your problem could be in the brain itself, or it could be in the spinal cord, or it could be in the nerve roots, or it could be in another place that I hadn't mentioned before, which is where your nerves join or enter your muscle. And this junction between your nerves and your muscle is known as a neuromuscular junction. And you can have specific problems that only affect this site. Also, sometimes you get problems that are not really in the nervous system. You could have a muscle problem, for example, and still have a patient presenting with a weakness, which if you're not thorough or if your examination is not complete, you might mistake that for other problems that come from the nervous system. So I've just added one layer on what we started from. So we started from the basic structure of the brain, and then I've told you that you've got different components that could be the sources of neurological problems. So localizing means that. It means figuring out where is the problem. And once we understand what each structure does, it will be very easy for us to figure out where the problem is once a patient presents with a particular type of dysfunction.